Hello and welcome to the Pharmacy Informatics Professor 2020 with your host, Dr. Armin Simonian. In the news, I see that humanity is racing to Mars. There are 3 expeditions right now, one with the United Arab Emirates, one with China, and one with the United States. They've all launched rockets that were sent in July of 2020 and are now reaching Mars. UAE will be orbiting Mars and collecting information and mapping the planet, and China and the United States will actually be sending rovers down to the planet's surface to do some testing of the soil and looking for life on Mars. This got me thinking about pharmacy informatics and where we are with robotics in pharmacy informatics. Now, let me share a couple of thoughts. First of all, healthcare in general tends to lag behind other industries in terms of implementation of technology. Now, why is this? I believe that it's because of budgets. It's because of finances. It's very difficult to run a hospital. It's a high-cost business. The profit margins are very thin. You have a lot of employees with high salaries, and you have to buy a lot of expensive devices in the hospital, CT scanners, MRI machines, even X-ray machines, other devices that cost a lot of money. And as an administrator in a hospital, you have to decide how to allocate the funds that are coming in, the limited funds that come from profits beyond operating expenses. And you have to decide where you're going to use that money. Are you going to buy a new scanner, or are you going to give it to the pharmacy department to implement IV workflow management, or maybe buy a new robot? So that's one comment about the industry as a whole and why we tend to lag behind other industries. And the other point I'll make is that in pharmacy, we do have robotics, and we've had robotics for a long time, going back actually a couple of decades. So we've seen what I like to call stationary robots and kinetic robots. So the stationary robots would be things like our IV robots that from start to finish can produce a compounded sterile product without human intervention. You just load in the ingredients and send the robot the information, and the robot will take that order and with a robotic arm within a clean environment, go ahead and compound that CSP. We also have kinetic robots, which have been around for a long time. And these are, I will say, not that sophisticated. Interesting in that when technology was still growing, back in the day, these robots were able to be loaded up with a delivery of a medication or a lab sample, a specimen, and the robot was then able to take off and navigate itself through the hospital, even calling elevators and going to different floors, going to the nursing station, making a delivery where the nurse would have to actually intervene and come to the robot, remove medications or whatever else was in the compartment, close it, and then send it back to pharmacy or to lab. And this has been going on for a long time. But I will say that I haven't seen a lot of improvement or sophistication added in to these robots. Now, going back to NASA and the flight to Mars and the rover that's landing on Mars, this is the most sophisticated robot, basically, kinetic robot that I've ever heard of. It's going to land on Mars. It has cameras, solar panels. It can navigate around the surface. In the belly, it also has a little helicopter built in, which can detach. And for the first time, they're going to try to have a machine that flies on within the thin atmosphere of Mars. So that's going to be an experiment to see if that will work. And then the rover also has drills. It can do laser analysis of elements. And of course, there's communication to send that information back to the scientists on Earth. And I saw an estimate that the cost of building that rover system was $2.4 billion. So a lot of money. And, this is an autonomous robot. It's going to land itself on the surface of Mars and then do all the studies. And pretty interesting how far we've come with robotics. Uh, Getting back to healthcare, there's no way that we could ever afford in a hospital or every hospital to develop a robot that costs $1 billion, obviously. So we are constrained in that way. But I will say that looking at pharmacy informatics in the news and seeing what's happening in space with robotics, I really think about what are the possibilities here on Earth in our hospitals with adding some smarts, adding some technology to our robots so that it might be able to do a little bit more than just go back and forth and be like a runner and deliver medications or bring returns back to the pharmacy. There's probably a lot more that it can do with drug distribution and even monitoring automatically. And I look forward in the future to seeing these developments. I'm hoping that the technology companies, the industries that produce these robots are working on improvements and making them in mass so that it will be cost effective and we can improve how we use technology in our hospitals, maybe free up some more time for our pharmacists to use their clinical skills and interact with the patient and the care team to provide the best therapy possible for our patients. So again, pharmacy informatics in the news. Keep your eyes open and look for these little clues about where we're going and the possibilities of how we can apply what we see to the specialty practice of pharmacy informatics. I hope this video was interesting for you, and if it was, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll thank you for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, look after the health of others, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.